30 feet below the Arabian Sea, off the coast of Gujarat, India, lie massive stone walls, ancient streets, harbor structures, a city. For thousands of years, the Mahabharata described this city, the golden capital of Lord Krishna, as one of the most magnificent ever built on Earth. The world called it mythology. Then in 1983, marine archaeologists dove into the sea and found it. Stone formations, ancient anchors, structured walls, a port, exactly where the ancient texts said it would be. In February 2025, the Archaeological Survey of India resumed underwater excavations, deploying advanced sonar scanning technology to map submerged structures for the first time in 20 years. FeedSpot. What they are finding is rewriting Indian history and raising a question that nobody in power wants to answer directly. If the Mahabharata was right about Dwarka, what else was it right about? The Mahabharata describes Dwarka as the capital of Lord Krishna's kingdom, a city of impossible beauty and scale. Supporting the palace were coral pillars decoratively inlaid with gems. Sapphires bedecked the walls, and the floors glowed with perpetual brilliance. The city had 16,000 palaces. Hobo.video. It describes a city built partly on land reclaimed from the ocean. A city so advanced that it had separate palace districts, temple areas, harbor systems, and sophisticated drainage. And it describes the city's end. After Krishna died, the ocean reclaimed what it had given. Wave by wave, Dwarka submerged beneath the Arabian Sea. Every building, every street, every palace, gone. The text says this happened in a single day. For thousands of years, this was considered religious allegory, a beautiful story, nothing more, until someone decided to look. The search for Dwarka dates back to the 1930s. The first excavations began in 1963, when everyday objects like pots, shells, and glass bangles dated between the 1st century BCE and the 10th century CE were discovered. But the real breakthrough came in 1983. Between 1983 and 1990, the Marine Archaeology Unit of India's National Institute of Oceanography carried out underwater excavations at Dwarka and Bet Dwarka. What they found 30 feet below the sea stopped them cold. Massive stone walls in geometric patterns. Stone anchors, dozens of them, of a type unique to this region. Structured harbor formations, pottery fragments, copper rings, inscribed potsherds, clusters of Harappan-style stone anchors, inscribed potsherds, copper rings, and an L-shaped dressed stone segment lying 5 to 12 meters below the seafloor off the eastern flank of Gomati Creek. This was not natural rock formation. This was a city, a planned, structured, ancient city, exactly where the Mahabharata said it would be. The sheer concentration of these anchors indicates Dwarka was one of the busiest ancient ports on India's western coast, exactly as the Mahabharata described. This was not a small fishing village. This was a maritime superpower, submerged beneath the ocean for thousands of years, exactly as the ancient texts described. But in the early 2000s, something even more extraordinary was found. Scientists from the National Institute of Ocean Technology were conducting a routine marine pollution survey in the Gulf of Khambhat, also known as the Gulf of Khambhat, approximately 30 kilometers off the coast. Their sonar equipment picked up anomalies on the seafloor. Further investigation revealed structures like tanks, steps visible on the side of structures suggesting a great bath, the central feature of Harappan towns. Other striking pictures showed constructions resembling the Acropolis of Harappan culture and a residential settlement spanning 73 meters by 53 meters, buried under sand. A great bath, a residential settlement, an acropolis, 30 kilometers offshore. deeper than anything previously found. Carbon dating of wood samples recovered from the site returned an extraordinary result. The wood dated to approximately 9,500 years ago. If accurate, this would make this the oldest known urban settlement ever discovered on Earth. Older than Mesopotamia, older than Egypt, older than anything in the archaeological record. The Indian government announced the discovery publicly. Scientists called for immediate full-scale excavation. And then, the investigation stopped. For 20 years, nothing. No excavation, no follow-up study, no international scientific team invited. The site sat untouched at the bottom of the Gulf of Khambhat for 2 decades. Here is where it gets deeply uncomfortable. If the Gulf of Khambhat site is genuinely 9,500 years old, it rewrites the entire history of human civilization. Not just Indian history, all of human history. It would mean that while Mesopotamia was being credited as the cradle of civilization, a far older and far more advanced urban settlement already existed in India. The implications for archaeology, for history textbooks, for Western academic consensus are enormous. Some researchers believe the investigation was stopped precisely because of what it implies. Confirming a 9,500-year-old Indian city would force a complete rewriting of world history and challenge decades of established academic positions that Western institutions have built their reputations on. The Indian government itself has never given a clear public explanation for why excavation stopped. In 2024, Prime Minister Modi personally dove into the sea at Dwarka to perform prayers at the underwater site, calling it a divine experience. But the full excavation that scientists have been demanding for 20 years has still not happened. Then, in February 2025, after a 20-year gap, the Archaeological Survey of India's Underwater Archaeology Wing resumed explorations led by Professor Alok Tripathi. For the first time, the team includes 3 women archaeologists, making this expedition both historically and symbolically significant. The 2025 expedition employs advanced sonar scanning technology to map submerged structures, scientific documentation systems for artifact recovery, and modern dating techniques, including thermoluminescence and carbon-14 analysis. New sonar scans have mapped a string of structural anomalies off Dwarka and Bet Dwarka, pinpointing possible jetty walls and grapnel-type stone anchors for targeted trenching. Fresh laboratory dates are expected in early 2026. Those dates, if they confirm the 9,500-year timeline, will be the most significant archaeological announcement in Indian history, and possibly in world history. The Mahabharata said Dwarka existed. Scientists found structures exactly where it said they would be. The Mahabharata said Dwarka was swallowed by the ocean. The structures are underwater. The Mahabharata said it was one of the greatest cities ever built. The sonar scans suggest something far larger than anything yet excavated. For thousands of years, the world called this mythology. The most profound question now is not whether Dwarka existed. It is this: if the Mahabharata was right about Dwarka, what else were our ancestors trying to tell us? The sea swallowed Dwarka, but it could not erase the memory. And now, millennia later, that memory is becoming history. Subscribe and hit the bell. New story on Buried Chronicles every single week.